The differences between ancient Egypt and ancient Rome. Today's exploration traces two of the most influential civilizations in human history, ancient Egypt and ancient Rome. Though both shaped the world, they differed sharply in worldview, social structure, politics, religion, warfare, architecture, and daily life. This video examines those distinctions with verified historical facts and a step-by-step structure. First, geography and environment. Ancient Egypt grew along the Nile River, a predictable source of life. The annual flooding deposited nutrient-rich silt, enabling stable agriculture and long-term settlement. Egypt's natural borders, deserts to the east and west, cataracts to the south, and the Mediterranean to the north, helped protect it from invasion. Ancient Rome, built on the Italian peninsula, had very different conditions. The Tiber River provided access to the Mediterranean, but Rome's geography was more open. Throughout its history, it faced constant military competition among Italic tribes, Greeks, and later Carthaginians. This environment encouraged Rome to become expansionist. Key difference: Egypt's isolation fostered stability and continuity. Rome's open landscape fostered militarism and expansion. Political structure: Egypt was ruled by a pharaoh, considered a divine or semi-divine figure. Government authority was centralized, and political legitimacy was tied to religious belief. Dynasties followed hereditary succession for thousands of years, creating long stretches of political continuity. Rome moved through three phases: monarchy, kings, republic, elected magistrates, senate, assemblies, empire, emperors with near absolute power. Roman political life was defined by law, citizenship, and civic participation for certain classes. Even under the emperors, Rome maintained legal institutions and a bureaucratic system. Key difference: Egypt emphasized divine kingship and continuity. Rome emphasized legal authority, citizenship, and evolving political systems. Social structure: Egyptian society was hierarchical but stable. At the top, pharaoh, nobles, priests, and scribes. Farmers formed the largest class, and enslaved labor existed but was not the primary workforce for major projects. Social mobility was limited but possible through priesthood or scribal education. Rome's society was more dynamic and competitive. Patricians and wealthy plebeians held political influence. Freedmen and slaves formed a large portion of the population in cities. Unlike Egypt, slavery was a major economic force in Rome, powering agriculture, households, and industries. Key difference: Egypt's hierarchy centered on sacred order. Rome's hierarchy centered on wealth, citizenship, and legal status. Religion and worldview. Egyptian religion was deeply rooted in nature cycles, resurrection, and the afterlife. Gods such as Ra, Isis, Osiris, and Horus guided cosmic order, Ma'at. Egyptians emphasized preservation of the body through mummification because they believed the Ka and Ba needed it for the afterlife. Rome's religion changed over time. Early Roman religion was civic-based, honoring gods like Jupiter, Mars, and Minerva. Ritual correctness mattered more than spiritual belief. With expansion, Rome adopted gods and practices from Greece, Egypt, and the Near East. Eventually, Christianity rose within Rome and became the state religion in the 4th century CE. Key difference: Egypt's religion focused on cosmic order and preparation for eternal life. Rome's religion shifted from civic polytheism to imperial syncretism and ultimately Christianity. Architecture and engineering. Egyptian architecture emphasized monumental stone structures aligned with spiritual purposes. Pyramids, temples, obelisks, and burial complexes were built to honor gods and house the dead. Construction relied on large labor forces and precise astronomical alignments. Rome developed large-scale engineering systems: aqueducts, roads, bridges, domes, and concrete buildings. The Colosseum, Pantheon, and extensive infrastructure demonstrated practical innovation. Roman architecture aimed at administration, entertainment, military logistics, and urban life. Key difference: Egypt focused on sacred permanence in stone. Rome focused on engineering utility and urban expansion. Art and writing. Egyptian art followed strict conventions over millennia. Figures were shown in composite perspective, scaling based on social rank. Themes centered on gods, pharaohs, and the afterlife. Hieroglyphic writing was elaborate and symbolic. Rome adopted Greek artistic styles and emphasized realism in portraiture. Sculpture captured individuality, age, and emotion. Literature flourished, with historians, poets, and philosophers writing in Latin. Roman texts were narrative and philosophical rather than ritualistic. Key difference: Egypt's art prioritized symbolic continuity. Rome's art prioritized human realism and cultural expression. Military and expansion. Egypt's military was primarily defensive. It expanded during the New Kingdom, but generally focused on protecting borders and securing trade routes. Chariots and archers were key. Rome built one of the most formidable military systems in history. Its legions were disciplined, technologically equipped, and strategically organized. Rome's expansion was continuous for centuries, conquering the Mediterranean and Europe. Key difference: Egypt fought mainly for security. Rome built an empire through systematic conquest. Economy and trade. Egypt's economy centered on farming produced by the Nile's floods. The state controlled grain distribution, labor, and large building projects. Trade reached Nubia, the Levant, and the Mediterranean. Rome's economy was expansive and diverse. Agriculture, slavery, mining, manufacturing, and long-distance sea trade. The Mediterranean became a unified economic zone under Roman control. Key difference: Egypt's economy was river-based and state-controlled. Rome's economy was wide-reaching and market-driven. Daily life and culture. Egyptian daily life revolved around farming cycles, temple festivals, and family structures. Clothing was simple. Music, board games, and religious rituals were common activities. Society valued stability and continuity. In Rome, urban living was central. Citizens attended baths, forums, theaters, and gladiatorial games. Social class determined lifestyles strongly. Roman culture valued debate, public life, and civic duty. Key difference: Egypt's culture emphasized agricultural rhythm and spiritual continuity. Rome's culture emphasized public life, law, and civic identity. Legacy. Egypt's legacy lies in its monumental architecture, religious symbolism, medical knowledge, and early innovations in writing and stable governance. Rome's legacy includes law, republican governance, engineering, language, and cultural traditions that shaped Western civilization. Final difference: Egypt shaped humanity through longevity and spirituality. Rome shaped humanity through governance, law, military power, and cultural integration.